Hana stood before the mirror in her private chambers, staring at the ceremonial robes that marked her as a bride. The silver fabric shimmered with tiny lights. Traditional for Velian weddings, she had dreamed of this day since childhood. But in those dreams, she never imagined marrying a human. Her father's voice echoed in her mind from 3 days ago. The human saved our fleet. Without him, the Krell would have destroyed everything. This marriage will secure the alliance we need. There are other ways to make alliances, Hana had argued. Trade agreements, military contracts. Why must I be the price? Soren had looked at her with tired eyes. Because symbols matter. Because the other species watch to see if we truly accept humanity as equals. Because I need you to do this, daughter. And that was that. Duty before desire. Honor before happiness. The Velian way. Nari, her younger sister, entered the room quietly. You look beautiful, she said softly. I look like a sacrifice, Hana replied. Have you even met him? Taeyang, I mean. Really met him? Not just seen him at the formal introduction? Hana shook her head. The formal introduction had lasted 10 minutes. Taeyang had stood in his dress uniform. A simple dark suit that looked plain next to Velian finery. He had bowed respectfully, said the proper words, and left. His eyes had been unreadable. I heard his men are loyal to him, Nari continued. They say he once walked through fire to rescue one of his soldiers. They say he's never lost anyone under his direct command. They also say humans are violent, short-lived, crude. Hana turned from the mirror. I will do my duty, Nari, but I will not pretend to be happy about it. The ceremony took place in the Grand Hall of Union, a massive structure built from crystal that caught and reflected Valoria's purple sun. Thousands attended. Velian nobles in their finest clothes, human diplomats in their stiff formal wear, representatives from a dozen other species, all watching to see this strange union. Hana walked down the long aisle, her head held high. She would not show weakness. She would not show shame. If she must marry a human, she would do so with dignity. Taeyang waited at the altar. He wore the same simple dark suit from their introduction. His face was calm, showing nothing. When their eyes met, Hana saw something there that surprised her. Not eagerness, not triumph, just quiet acceptance. He looked like a man walking to his own execution. The ceremony followed Velian tradition. Words in the old language that spoke of honor, duty, and eternal bonds. Hana spoke her vows clearly. Taeyang spoke his in careful Velian, only stumbling once on the pronunciation. When the officiant declared them bound, there was polite applause. They did not kiss. Velian custom did not require it. The reception that followed felt endless. Hana smiled and accepted congratulations from nobles who barely hid their pity. Taeyang stood beside her, speaking when spoken to, otherwise silent. His human crew stayed in one corner, watching everything with sharp eyes. One of them, a man named Do-yun, approached during a quiet moment. Take care of him, he said to Hana. He's a good man. Better than most. I did not ask for this, Hana said coldly. Neither did he. Do-yun walked away. When the reception finally ended, servants escorted them to their new home. Not a traditional Velian estate, but not human quarters either. A compromise residence on Valoria's second moon, where the gravity was lighter and the air more similar to Earth's atmosphere. The house was large and empty. Their footsteps echoed on the stone floors. Which room is yours? Hana asked. Taeyang looked at her for a long moment. I was told to take the east wing. You have the west wing. There are shared spaces in the center if you need anything. Good. Hana walked toward the west wing without looking back. She spent her wedding night alone, staring at the ceiling, wondering how her life had come to this. Outside her window, Valoria hung in the sky. A massive blue-green sphere. Home. Yet she felt further from it than ever. The next morning, Hana woke early. She dressed and went to the garden, needing air and space. She found Taeyang already there, moving through some kind of exercise routine. His movements were precise and controlled. Sweat covered his face despite the cool morning air. He noticed her and stopped immediately. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to disturb you. I'll train elsewhere." "This is your home too," Hana said stiffly. "You may train where you wish. Thank you." He picked up a towel and wiped his face. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Taeyang said, "I know you didn't want this, the marriage. I understand. I won't burden you with expectations." "What does that mean?" "It means we're bound by law and politics. But you don't owe me anything beyond that. We can live separate lives in the same house. I won't trouble you." Hana studied him. He meant it. There was no anger in his voice, no resentment, just plain honesty. "Why did you agree to this?" she asked. Taeyang was quiet for a moment. "My crew, we're deserters according to Earth law. We refused an order to bomb civilians. The Earth corporations want us dead or imprisoned. Your father offered protection in exchange for this marriage. It was the only way to keep my people safe. So we're both here out of duty." "Yes," Hana nodded slowly. "Then we understand each other. We'll be civil. We'll maintain appearances in public. But nothing more." "Agreed." They stood in the garden as the sun rose higher, two strangers bound together by politics and duty, neither expecting anything from the other. Hana returned to her wing. Taeyang resumed his training. The first day of their marriage ended the same way it began. Separately, quietly. Two people sharing a house, but nothing else. 6 months passed like slow water through stone. Hana and Taeyang lived in the same house, but moved in different orbits. They spoke at breakfast. Brief and polite. They appeared together at required social functions, playing their roles perfectly. Then they returned to their separate wings and separate lives. But Hana watched him. She told herself it was simply caution, learning about the stranger she was bound to. But as weeks turned to months, curiosity replaced caution. Every morning, Taeyang trained. Not simple exercise, but brutal physical challenges that would break most beings. He ran carrying heavy weights. He practiced combat moves against training drones set to maximum difficulty. Once, Hana saw him continue training with a broken finger, binding it himself and returning to his routine. "Why does he punish himself so?" she asked Mireille, her lady-in-waiting and oldest friend. Mireille had been watching too. "I asked Doyun, his second-in-command. He said humans must maintain peak condition because they lack natural advantages. No psychic powers. No enhanced strength from genetic engineering. Just what they build themselves." Hana frowned. "That seems inefficient, perhaps, but I've never seen anyone as disciplined." Taeyang spent his afternoons in study. He hired a Velian language tutor and practiced for hours. He read military history, absorbing centuries of Velian tactical knowledge. He learned their customs, their etiquette, their social rules. No one asked him to do this. He did it anyway. One evening, Hana passed by the library and heard him speaking Velian with his tutor. His accent was rough, but he kept trying, repeating phrases until they were correct. "Why do you work so hard at this?" she heard the tutor ask. "This is my home now," Taeyang replied in careful Velian. "I should understand it." Hana continued walking, but the words stayed with her. The human crew visited often. 12 people, all outcasts from Earth, all completely devoted to their captain. Hana watched them interact with Taeyang from a distance. There was no formality between them, but absolute respect. They joked and laughed together. But when Taeyang gave orders, they obeyed instantly. She saw him negotiate with suppliers to get better equipment for his team, spending his own money. She saw him arrange medical treatment for a crew member's sick child, calling in favors from her father's military doctors. When Do-Yun was injured during training, Taeyang personally oversaw his recovery, visiting every day. "He takes care of them," Mireille observed. "Like family. They're his soldiers," Hana said. "No, they're more than that. Watch how he looks at them. That's not a commander's duty. That's love." Hana didn't want to acknowledge it, but Mireille was right. Then there was the incident with Velian nobles at a dinner party. 3 young aristocrats, drunk on imported wine, began mocking Taeyang. They spoke in Old Velian, assuming he wouldn't understand. "The barbarian tries so hard," one said. "Like teaching a pet to speak. I hear humans only live 80 years, another laughed. "She'll be free soon enough, if he even survives that long. Their kind dies so easily." Hana felt her face burn with anger. Not for Taeyang, she told herself, but for the insult to her father's judgment. She started to respond, but Taeyang touched her arm gently. He looked at the nobles and smiled calmly. Then, in perfect Old Velian, he said, "Thank you for your concern about my short lifespan. I'll try to make my limited years useful." The nobles went pale. Taeyang had understood every word and responded with courtesy, making their rudeness appear even worse. He excused himself from the table and left. He didn't appear angry. He didn't demand apologies. He simply removed himself from the situation with grace. Later that night, Hana found him in the garden. "You could have challenged them," she said. "Demanded satisfaction according to our customs." "To what purpose?" Taeyang asked. "Words from drunks? Not worth the trouble. But they insulted you. Insulted us. They're afraid," Taeyang said simply. "The galaxy is changing. Humanity is new and unpredictable. Fear makes people cruel. I can't change that by fighting everyone who says something unkind." Hana sat down beside him. For the first time, they talked without the wall of formality between them. "Doesn't it bother you?" she asked. "Being looked down on?" "Of course. But I've been looked down on before. I grew up in Earth's lower cities. Poor family. No connections. I joined the military because it was my only path forward. I've always had to prove myself. This is just another version of the same challenge. And you prove yourself by... what? Being patient? By being consistent. By doing what's right even when no one's watching. Respect demanded is worthless. Respect earned lasts." They sat in silence for a while. Then Hana said, "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Someone loud, aggressive, violent. The stories about humans, some of those stories are true," Taeyang said quietly. "We can be violent. We have wars that last generations. We've done terrible things to each other. But we're also capable of incredible loyalty, fierce protection of those we care about. We don't give up, even when we should." "Is that why you refused the bombing order? The one that made you a deserter?" Taeyang nodded. "There were children in that colony. Families. The corporations didn't care. They just wanted to send a message about rebellion. I couldn't do it. My crew agreed. So we ran. That must have been difficult. It was necessary. I can live with being called a deserter. I couldn't live with murdering children." Hana saw him differently after that night. Not completely different, but the hard edges of her resentment began to soften. 3 weeks later, her pet Velis fell ill. The crystalline bird creature had been with her since childhood, a gift from her mother. It stopped singing and wouldn't eat. Velian veterinarians tried everything, but the Velis grew weaker. Hana stayed with it through the night, watching it struggle to breathe. She fell asleep in her chair, exhausted. When she woke in the early morning, she found Taeyang kneeling beside the Velis's cage. He had medical equipment spread around him and was carefully treating the creature with delicate precision. His hands, scarred from combat, moved with incredible gentleness. "What are you doing?" Hana whispered. "Field medicine?" he said, not looking up. "I noticed similarities between Velis biology and some Earth birds. I thought some basic treatments might help. I hope I didn't overstep." The Velis chirped softly. It was eating from Taeyang's hand. Hana felt something crack inside her chest. "Why would you do this?" Taeyang finally looked at her. His eyes were tired but sincere. "It matters to you. That makes it matter." She had no response to that. She simply watched as he finished the treatment, making sure the Velis was comfortable before carefully packing away his equipment. "Thank you," she said. You're welcome. He stood to leave, then paused. Hana, I know this marriage wasn't your choice, but I want you to know that I'm trying, not because I expect anything from you, just because it's the right thing to do. The emergency alert came at midnight. Hana woke to sirens and red lights flashing through her windows. She rushed to the communication console and felt her blood go cold. 3 Velian core worlds under attack. The Krell swarm had launched a massive invasion. Millions of insect warriors supported by bioships that blotted out the stars. The preliminary reports showed entire cities already fallen. Her father's face appeared on the screen, older than she remembered. All military forces are being called to service. I need every ship, every soldier. That includes your husband's mercenary unit. Of course, Hana said. I'll inform him immediately. There's more. Soren hesitated. Admiral Corvin will command the defense fleet. He's not pleased about working with humans. But we need everyone. Tell Taeyang to be ready for resistance. Hana found Taeyang already awake, already in his combat gear. His crew was assembling in the courtyard, moving with practiced efficiency. They weren't panicking. They were preparing. I heard, Taeyang said before she could speak. We'll be ready to deploy within the hour. My father says there may be issues with Admiral Corvin. We'll handle it. He turned to issue orders to Doyun, then looked back at Hana. You should stay here. It's safer on the moon. I'm going with you. Hana, this will be dangerous. I'm a daughter of the High Commander. It's traditional for Velian nobles to observe military operations. I'm going. They stared at each other. Finally, Taeyang nodded. Then stay close to me. Please. With Ride, something in how he said please made her chest tight. The fleet assembled in orbit around Valoria. 50 Velian warships, their elegant designs glowing with power. And one small human frigate, the Iron Phoenix. Looking rough and patched compared to Velian perfection, Admiral Corvin's communication was ice cold. The humans will take the rear position. Support duty only. Do not engage unless ordered. Taeyang accepted the orders without complaint. They traveled through jump space to the besieged worlds. When they arrived, Hana understood why her father had looked so old. The Krell had brought their full swarm. Millions of insect warriors filled the space between planets. Their bioships moved like schools of predatory fish, sleek and deadly. The battle began immediately. Velian ships engaged with precision, their energy weapons cutting through Krell warriors. But there were so many. For every 100 killed, 200 more appeared. Hana watched from the Iron Phoenix's command deck. Taeyang stood calmly, giving orders to his crew. His voice never rose, never wavered. Doyun, adjust our position. Cover the Velian cruiser on our left. Jiho, calculate firing solutions for maximum crowd control. All weapons, controlled bursts. We need to make our ammunition last. The Velian fleet fought well, but Admiral Corvin's traditional tactics weren't working. The Krell used swarm intelligence, adapting to every strategy. Velian ships began taking heavy damage. Admiral, Taeyang contacted Corvin. Request permission to try alternative tactics. Denied. Maintain your position, human. A Velian destroyer exploded on the view screen. Then another. Admiral, with respect, your current approach isn't sustainable. If you let me, I said maintain position. Corvin cut the communication. Hana watched Taeyang's jaw tighten, but he followed orders. For 3 hours, the battle raged. The Velian fleet was being torn apart. Then the Krell hive ship arrived. It was massive. A living vessel the size of a moon. It pulsed with bioenergy. And from its depths poured thousands more warriors. The Krell's psychic scream hit the Velian fleet like a physical wave. Hana felt it even through the ship's shielding, a pressure against her mind that made her want to curl up and hide. Velian warriors across the fleet were crippled by the psychic assault. Ships drifted, their crews unable to function. How are you standing? Hana gasped at Taeyang. Humans don't have psychic sensitivity, he said. It's one advantage of being primitive. His voice was grim. But it means we're the only ones left who can fight. The flagship was about to be overrun. Corvin was unconscious. The entire command crew collapsed. Taeyang made a decision. All crew, listen. We're going to hit that hive ship. Plant a nuclear device in its core and destroy it. The psychic scream should stop when the hive mind dies. Sir, Doyun said quietly. That's a suicide run. The odds. I know the odds. I'm not ordering anyone. Volunteers only. Every single crew member stepped forward. Hana grabbed Taeyang's arm. You can't. There has to be another way. He looked at her. And for the first time since she'd known him, she saw fear in his eyes. Not fear of death. Fear of leaving her. I have to try, he said. These are your people. Your worlds. I can't stand by and watch them die. Then I'm coming with you. No. You don't command me, Taeyang. I'm going. They didn't have time to argue. The hive ship was closing in. 12 humans and 1 Velian noble boarded a combat shuttle and launched toward the massive biovessel. Hana watched the view screen as Taeyang piloted them through swarms of Krell warriors. His hands moved over the controls with absolute precision. Jiho, I need a path through those clusters. On it, boss. Uploading to your display now. They flew through impossible gaps, weapons firing constantly. The shuttle shook with impacts. Alarms screamed. They punched through the hive ship's outer membrane and entered its interior. Inside was a nightmare of organic tunnels and chambers. Krell warriors filled every space. The team fought their way deeper, moving as one unit. Hana had never seen humans fight before. Not truly. She watched in awe as they moved with deadly efficiency. They covered each other perfectly. Every movement coordinated. When one ran out of ammunition, another was already there with support. And Taeyang was something beyond human. He moved like water and struck like thunder. His combat knife flashed in the dim light. He shot with perfect accuracy while dodging attacks that should have killed him. He carried the nuclear device on his back and never slowed down. Jiho took a hit to his leg and fell. Taeyang grabbed him without breaking stride, lifting him onto his shoulders while still fighting. He carried his wounded soldier and the nuclear device, fighting off Krell warriors with one hand. How? Hana whispered, firing her borrowed weapon at approaching enemies. Adrenaline, Doyun said, fighting beside her. Stubbornness. And love for his people. That's the human edge. We don't quit. They reached the hive ship's core, a massive chamber pulsing with bioenergy. The hive queen's brain mass filled the space, a mountain of living tissue. Taeyang placed the device and set the timer. 3 minutes. Move. The team ran. Krell warriors poured in from every direction, trying to stop them. The tunnel back to the shuttle seemed endless. Taeyang was hit. A Krell blade cut deep into his side. He stumbled but kept running, blood streaming down his combat armor. Taeyang! Hana caught him. Keep moving, he gasped. Don't stop. They made it to the shuttle with 30 seconds remaining. Doyun took the controls. The shuttle launched as the nuclear device detonated. The hive ship's death scream was like a psychic explosion. But it was a death scream. The hive mind shattered. Across the battle space, Krell warriors went dormant. Their coordination broken. The Velian fleet woke from their psychic paralysis to find the battle won. Hana held Taeyang as he collapsed, his blood soaking through her clothes. Stay with me, she said. Please. Stay with me. His eyes found hers. Did we win? Yes. Yes, you won. Good. His eyes closed. Medical teams rushed him to emergency care. Hana refused to leave his side. Even when doctors tried to move her away, she had married this man out of obligation. But somewhere between the garden conversations and the Velis treatment and this impossible battle, something had changed. She loved him. The realization hit her like the hive ship's psychic scream. She loved this human who worked so hard, who cared so deeply, who fought so fiercely. This man who had just saved her entire world. Taeyang woke 3 days later in a medical facility on Valoria Prime. The first thing he saw was Hana, asleep in a chair beside his bed, her hand still holding his. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through his entire body. "Don't move," a voice said. A human woman in medical clothing approached. "I'm Dr. Yuna. You're lucky to be alive. 3 broken ribs, internal bleeding, severe lacerations. You should have died twice over." "My crew?" Taeyang asked. "All alive. Jiho's leg will heal. Everyone else has minor injuries. You took the worst of it." Yuna checked his vital signs. "Your wife hasn't left this room in 3 days." Taeyang looked at Hana. Even asleep, she looked exhausted. There were dark circles under her eyes. "She should rest properly," he said. "I've told her that many times. She refuses to leave." Yuna smiled slightly. "She cares about you. Quite a lot, actually." Before Taeyang could respond, Hana stirred and opened her eyes. When she saw him awake, something happened to her face. It softened completely, showing pure relief. "You're awake," she said, then immediately stood. "I should get the doctors." "I'm right here," Yuna said. "And he's stable. I'll give you two some privacy." She left quickly. Silence filled the room. Taeyang and Hana looked at each other. "I thought you were going to die," Hana said finally. "In the shuttle, you lost so much blood. The doctors said, it was a miracle you survived." "I'm tougher than I look." "This isn't funny, Taeyang." Her voice shook. "You could have died. You almost did die. And I realized I never told you." "Told me what?" She sat down beside his bed and took his hand again. "That I was wrong about you. About humans. About everything. I watched you fight in that hive ship. I saw what you did to save us. And I understood." "Understood what?" "Why humans survive. Why you don't give up. You don't have psychic powers or long lives or genetic advantages. But you have something else. Something stronger." She looked directly into his eyes. "You have the ability to love so completely that you'll walk through hell for the people you care about. That's your strength." Taeyang's throat felt tight. "Hana, I need to say this. I married you out of obligation. I resented you for months. But you never complained. You never demanded anything. You just kept being good and kind and strong. And somewhere along the way, I fell in love with you." The words hung in the air between them. "I fell in love with you too," Taeyang said quietly. "Probably from the first time you spoke to me as an equal instead of a duty. But I didn't think I had the right to say it." "You have every right." Hana leaned forward and kissed him gently, carefully, mindful of his injuries. When she pulled back, both of them were crying. "When you heal," she said, "I want to start over, not as strangers forced together." "I'd like that." Recovery took weeks. Hana visited every day, and slowly, their conversations changed. No more careful politeness. They talked about everything. Taeyang told her about growing up poor on Earth, about his first combat mission, about the nightmares he still had from the wars. Hana told him about the pressure of being a high commander's daughter, about her mother who died when she was young, about her fear of never being good enough. "You're more than good enough," Taeyang said. "You're extraordinary. You're biased." "Absolutely. But I'm also right." When Taeyang could walk again, Hana made an unusual request. "Teach me to fight like you do." "What?" "I want to learn human combat techniques. I watched you fight. I want to understand it." Taeyang hesitated. "It's not like Velian martial arts. It's rough. Physical. You might get hurt. I trust you not to hurt me. Will you teach me?" He agreed. The training sessions became the foundation of something deeper. Every morning, they worked together in the garden. Taeyang taught her human close combat techniques, adapted for her Velian physiology. She was a quick learner, graceful, and determined. "Humans fight differently," Taeyang explained during a session. "We're not the strongest or fastest species. So we focus on leverage, momentum, and refusing to quit. It's about using your opponent's strength against them. And when that fails, it's about pure stubbornness." Hana practiced a throw, using Taeyang's weight to flip him onto the training mat. She stood over him, breathing hard. Like that? Exactly like that. He grinned up at her. You're getting dangerous. She helped him up. And they stood close, both sweating from exertion. I like this, Hana said. Learning from you. Being your equal. You've always been my equal, now you're just armed. They laughed together. And Hana realized she'd never been this happy. Not in her perfect planned life before. Not in all her years of duty and honor. Happiness had come from this unexpected place. This human who saw her as a partner. Not a prize. The war continued across 5 systems. The Krell had been pushed back but not defeated. Earth sent reinforcements, including a controversial military unit called the Berserker Corps. Their commander was a man named Minho, an old friend of Taeyang's. He arrived with 200 human warriors, all veterans of Earth's worst conflicts. You look terrible, Minho said when they met. I heard you went toe-to-toe with a hive ship. That's insane even for you. It needed doing, Taeyang introduced Hana. This is my wife. Minho studied Hana carefully, then nodded with respect. He's talked about you in every message he's sent me. I'm glad you're treating him well. He's treating me well, Hana corrected. I'm just trying to deserve him. Oh, I like her, Minho told Taeyang. You did good. The Berserker Corps was unlike any military unit Hana had seen. They were disciplined but fierce, capable of controlled violence that terrified even allied species. They had a reputation for never retreating, never surrendering, never leaving their dead behind. Are all human soldiers like this? Hana asked Taeyang while watching them train. No. The Berserkers are special. They're the ones who can channel combat rage without losing control. It's rare. Dangerous. But effective. Have you ever been like that? In battle? Taeyang was quiet for a long moment. Once. During the Hive ship assault. When you were in danger and Jiho was wounded. Something in me just let go. I stopped thinking. And just fought. It's hard to explain. The battle hymn, Minho said, approaching them. That's what we call it. When a human warrior goes beyond normal limits. Beyond pain. Beyond fear. Beyond reason. We become something more than human. He looked at Taeyang. You have the talent for it. I always knew you did. New orders came from the Galactic Concilium. The Krell were massing for a final offensive against Valoria Prime itself. Every available ship was being called to defend the homeworld. Taeyang's unit was assigned to the defense fleet. So was the Berserker Corps. Hana insisted on fighting alongside them. I'm not staying behind, she said firmly. I can fight now. You trained me, and this is my world we're defending. Taeyang knew better than to argue. Then we fight together. They prepared for the coming battle. Taeyang checked his equipment. His crew gathered around him. Hana stood with them. No longer an outsider. They'd accepted her as one of their own, whatever happens. Taeyang said to her quietly, I want you to know I've never been happier than these past few months with you. We're going to survive, Hana said. Both of us. And when this is over, I want to start our real life together. No more separate wings. No more walls between us. I'd like that very much. The fleet assembled in orbit. Velian warships, human frigates, and allies from across the Concilium. They waited for the Krell's arrival. The War Mother arrived like a nightmare made flesh. It emerged from jump space with an escort of 10,000 Krell warriors, its massive form blocking out the stars. The Bio-Titan was ancient, covered in scars from centuries of battles. Its psychic presence alone made Velian warriors scream. Hana felt the pressure against her mind, even protected inside the Iron Phoenix. It was worse than the Hive ship. This was focused. Intelligent malice that wanted to crush everything living. All fleet units, engage. High Commander Soren's voice came over communications. Protect the homeworld. The battle began immediately. Velian ships fired their most powerful weapons at the War Mother. Energy beams that could destroy planets hit its armored carapace and barely scratched it. The Bio-Titan responded by releasing bioplasma that melted through ship hulls like paper. Minho's Berserker Corps launched boarding actions against the smaller Krell ships. Hana watched in amazement as human warriors fought with terrifying efficiency. They moved like demons, unstoppable and fearless, but even they couldn't touch the War Mother. "It's too big," Doyun said, desperation creeping into his voice. "Conventional weapons aren't working." Taeyang stood at the command console, watching the carnage. The fleet was being destroyed. Velian ships fell one by one. The War Mother's psychic scream grew stronger, crippling more warriors. High Commander Soren's voice came through, heavy with defeat. "All ships, retreat. Fall back to the secondary defensive line. We cannot win this battle." "Father, no," Hana protested. "If we retreat, Valoria is lost. Better to lose the planet than the entire species. Retreat is our only option." Taeyang's hands tightened on the console. Hana saw something in his eyes she'd never seen before. A decision being made. A line being crossed. "No," he said quietly. "What?" Hana looked at him. Taeyang turned to his crew. "Override our retreat orders. Take us toward the War Mother." "Sir?" Doyun stared at him. "That's suicide. I'm challenging it. Ancient Krell tradition allows single combat between champions. The War Mother has never refused such a challenge." "Taeyang, you can't fight that thing," Hana said. "It's impossible." He looked at her, and she saw love in his eyes, and determination that went beyond reason. "Humans don't accept impossible. You taught me that I matter to you. Now let me show you why humans matter to the galaxy." He opened all communication channels. "This is Captain Taeyang of the human vessel Iron Phoenix. I invoke the ancient right of challenge. War Mother of the Krell, I name myself humanity's champion. Face me in single combat, or be known as a coward for all time." 1. Silence filled the communication channels. Then the War Mother's voice echoed across every ship, a psychic sound like grinding stone and screaming metal. "Human, you dare? I dare. I have killed champions of 100 species. You will die like all the rest. Maybe. But I'll die trying. That's the human way." Hana grabbed his arm. "Please don't do this. There has to be another way." Taeyang held her face gently in his hands. "I love you. Remember that. No matter what happens, I love you." He kissed her, deep and desperate, then pulled away and headed for the shuttle bay. "I'm coming with you," Hana said. "No, this is my fight. Then I'll watch. I won't interfere, but I won't hide either. If you're going to face this thing, I'm going to be there." He knew he couldn't stop her. They boarded a combat shuttle, with Doyun piloting. The entire fleet watched as the small ship flew toward the War Mother. The Bio-Titan allowed them to land on its skull fortress, a massive platform of living bone. Taeyang emerged in his combat armor, carrying a plasma blade and nothing else. Hana stayed in the shuttle with Doyun, watching through the view screen. The War Mother manifested a physical form, a massive warrior construct 3 times Taeyang's height, covered in bio-armor, and wielding bone blades the size of trees. "Last chance, human. Flee and die quickly with your fleet. Fight and die slowly in agony." Taeyang activated his plasma blade. "I'm not running. Let's do this." The War Mother attacked. What followed was beyond anything Hana could have imagined. The Bio-Titan moved with terrifying speed, its massive blades cutting through the air. Taeyang dodged by centimeters, his smaller size the only advantage he had. He struck back, his plasma blade cutting into the War Mother's armor. The wound was tiny, meaningless against such mass. The Titan laughed and backhanded him, sending him flying 20 meters. Taeyang hit the ground hard. Hana saw blood on his armor. He should have stayed down. Any rational being would have. He stood up. "He's going to die," Doyun whispered. "We're watching him die." But Taeyang kept fighting. He was faster than the War Mother, more agile. He dodged and struck, dodged and struck. Each hit carved small wounds, but there were thousands of wounds needed to bring down something so large. The fight went on for an hour. Then 2. Taeyang was bleeding from a dozen injuries. His armor was cracked. He was slowing down. "Stay down," Hana whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Please, just stay down." He didn't stay down. The War Mother crushed him under one massive limb. Hana heard bones break over the audio feed. Taeyang screamed, but he forced himself up again, somehow, impossibly. He was barely standing, but he was standing. "Why?" the War Mother roared. "Why do you continue? You cannot win." Taeyang's voice came through, broken and bloody, but absolutely clear. "Because behind me is everything I love. My wife, my crew, my adopted world. You want to destroy that? You go through me first." Something changed in that moment. Hana saw it happen. Taeyang stopped fighting like a skilled warrior. He stopped thinking, stopped calculating. Something deeper took over. The battle hymn, the ascension. Whatever you called it. It was the moment when humans went beyond human. Taeyang moved differently now. Faster, harder. He wasn't dodging anymore. He was attacking with absolute conviction. Every strike carried his full strength. He wasn't trying to survive. He was trying to kill, regardless of cost. The War Mother hit him again and again. His left arm broke, then ribs. His face was covered in blood. But every time he went down, he got back up. And every time he got up, he was more dangerous. "He's not human anymore," Doyun said in awe. "Look at his eyes." Hana looked. Taeyang's eyes had changed. There was no fear there. No doubt. Just absolute, terrifying determination. He climbed up the War Mother's body, using its own armor as handholds. The Titan tried to shake him off. But Taeyang held on with his one good arm. He pulled himself up to its head, to the exposed brain core that pulsed beneath translucent armor. The War Mother realized what he intended. It thrashed wildly, trying to dislodge him. Taeyang raised his plasma blade high. Then he drove it down into the brain core with every bit of strength he had left. The War Mother's psychic scream shattered across 3 star systems. Every being with psychic sensitivity felt it die. The massive body convulsed, then went still. Taeyang collapsed on top of the dead Titan, not moving. Hana was out of the shuttle before Doyun could stop her. She ran across the skull fortress to where Taeyang lay. He was barely breathing, his body broken in so many places. She couldn't count them all. "Taeyang," she sobbed, cradling his head. "You did it. You killed it. You won." His eyes opened slightly. They were human again, tired and full of pain. "Did I make you proud?" he whispered. "You made the entire galaxy proud. But yes, you made me proud." She kissed his forehead. "Now stay with me. Don't you dare die after all this." Medical ships arrived within minutes. They rushed Taeyang to the best trauma center on Valoria. The doctors worked for 8 hours straight to save his life. Hana waited outside the surgery room with his crew. Doyun sat beside her in silence. Minho arrived, his armor still covered in Krell blood from his own battles. "He's the strongest man I know," Minho said. "If anyone can survive this, it's him." Finally, Dr. Yuna emerged. She looked exhausted but was smiling. "He'll live. I don't know how, but he'll live. Humans are apparently harder to kill than we thought." Hana felt relief wash over her so strongly she almost collapsed. Taeyang woke 3 days later to find Hana asleep in the chair beside his bed again. This time, when he touched her hand, she woke immediately. "You're awake," she said. "Apparently I'm hard to kill." She laughed and cried at the same time. "The entire galaxy watched you fight. You're a legend now. They're calling you the battle god of Valoria. I'm no god, just a man who loves his wife, a man who changed how every species views humanity. You showed them what humans are capable of. I showed them what anyone is capable of when they fight for something worth protecting." Over the following weeks, delegations from across the Galactic Concilium came to honor Taeyang. They brought medals, titles, and offers of position. Humans everywhere celebrated him as the ultimate example of their species, but Taeyang declined most of the honors. He accepted a statue in Valoria's capital, but only because Hana insisted. Mostly, he wanted to go home and heal. 5 years later, life had settled into something beautiful. Taeyang and Hana lived in their house on the second moon, but now they shared the same wing, the same room, the same life. Their daughter was 3 years old, a miracle of genetics that scientists still couldn't explain. She had her mother's elegant features and her father's determination. She was the first human-Valian hybrid ever born. Taeyang watched her play in the crystal garden, chasing the Velis that he'd saved years ago. Hana stood beside him, her hand in his. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "The battle? What it cost you?" Taeyang still limped slightly. His left arm had never fully recovered. He had scars that would never fade. But he smiled. "Not for a second. I got you. I got our daughter. I got a home and a family. That's worth any price. I married you out of obligation," Hana said softly. "I thought I was doing my duty. I never expected to fall in love, and I married you hoping that maybe someday you might see me as more than a duty. I never expected you to see me as an equal." "You're not my equal," Hana said. Taeyang looked at her in surprise. She smiled. "You're my hero. My battle god. My love." Their daughter ran up to them, the Velis on her shoulder. "Papa, teach me to fight like you." Taeyang picked her up carefully. "When you're older, little one. For now, just be a kid." "But Mama says you're a legend." "Mama is biased. Mama is right," Hana corrected. They walked together through the garden as the sun set, a family built from obligation that became devotion. The human who ascended to legend, the alien noble who learned to love, and their daughter, who represented a future where anything was possible. In the distance, Valoria hung in the sky, safe and whole. Protected by the warrior who refused to accept defeat, by the man who showed the galaxy that humans don't quit, don't break, and don't abandon what they love, by the battle god who was, at heart, just a man trying to be worthy of his wife's love. And he had succeeded beyond all measure. When the enemy came, they brought their greatest weapon. The War Mother. A bio-titan that had never been defeated in 300 years of galactic warfare. It was larger than any ship, a living mountain of chitin and fury. The final battle for Valoria Prime was about to begin. And in that battle, Hana would watch the man she loved transform into something legendary. She would see him become the battle god that humanity always knew he could be. But she would also see what it cost him. And she would understand that love sometimes means watching someone you care about walk through fire and praying they come back to you on the other side. "Don't you dare die," she whispered, holding his hand. "I haven't told you yet." The medical machines beeped steadily, keeping him alive. Hana stayed, waiting for him to wake up so she could tell him everything she'd been too proud and too afraid to say before. After he left, Hana sat with her recovered Velis and realized something frightening. She was starting to care about the human she had married. Not love, not yet. But something was growing, small and persistent, like a seed pushing through stone, and she didn't know what to do about it. Hana told herself this was fine. This was manageable. She would fulfill her duty, and nothing more. She had no idea how wrong she was. She had no idea that the quiet human in the garden would soon show her what humanity truly meant, that his actions would force her to question everything she believed about strength, honor, and love. But that discovery would come later. For now, there was only duty, only obligation, only the cold reality of a marriage neither wanted but both accepted. The house stood silent under the alien moon, holding two souls who did not yet know they were meant to find each other.